Before we get into this, I want to just really give you guys an opportunity to just greet the camera and introduce yourself. Mr. Jones, I'm sorry, ladies first.
Hi, I'm Sharonda, the First Lady of the E. Jones Show.
And I'm E. Jones, the problem child.
That's the truth.
So to just jump right in, E. Jones, how did you arrive here to do this today? What was your path that led you to here?
Near death. I almost died, caught bacterial meningitis.
Wow.
In New York. Was pronounced dead twice. In the hospital. I was in a coma for about 2 weeks. I was missing in action. Nobody knew where I was at. And it left me with seizures, so it was like more of a, it didn't kick in right then and there. It was more in my field of doing culinary arts, and it started the wear and tear kicked in, and I was like, I got to find something else to do, because I fell out again, and I always had a passion for music, and I hate listening to radio because I felt that there wasn't nothing there for us. So pretty much, that's what opened the door. It started with a show called The Mind Itself. It's a nighttime show, real risque. We interviewed porno stars and stuff like that, and a lot of the topics was sexually related. And from there, I just wanted a bigger challenge. I wanted to do daytime radio, and I knew that coming to do daytime radio had to change up the style and be a little bit more politically correct.
Wow. So, did you choose old school, or did old school choose you?
I was raised in old school, so I guess it chose me. Loved hip hop from day one. God bless my dead sister, Risa Jones. She was the one that took me to my first jam in the park. It was the Disco Twins, the legendary Disco Twins. And from that day on, I was just sucked in. Then God bless the dead again. My cousin Kevin snuck me into the world famous movie called Wild Style in his trench coat, and I got to see Busy Bee and Kumo D battle.
Wow, so you go way back. So you know the history, the stories. You're intertwined, I guess, like the movie Love and Hip Hop. I guess, you go way back. I guess this is part of your being, huh?
Love hip hop.
So I would want to jump ahead of myself. So with the E. Jones Show, you seem to have mirrored both the love of old school and topics that are adult. But not as risque, but things that adults seem to be able to relate to. How did that format come about? Because I really hadn't found that in a lot of other stations.
Basically, we talk about things that people talk about at the water cooler, but they don't really want to bring it to the public. We touch on things that basically is related to, life issues. We all got little issues, we all got little quirks, but no one wants to talk about it. You can't solve a problem if it's not discussed. So we just started touching on topics that people are comfortable with, that they want to know about, or they want to talk about, but they don't want to be the person to initiate the conversation. So we initiated.
So Sharonda, how did you find yourself here? How did you get here? Did you have a path or a background in radio?
No, not at all. Again, being an outgoing person that I am, at that particular time, I was the PTO president at our children's school. My two boys and his daughter went to the same school. I had communication with his wife, and this particular weekend I was having an event at my home. And I said to her, I'm having an event at my home, bring your family. So she did just that. His daughter and son came along with him and his wife, and we just gelled. And a week later he called me and said, would you be interested in being a co-host on my show? And I said to him, well, what exactly does that entail? And he said, well, we'll talk, we play music, we, have different questions, and we deal with topics. So I said to him, can I shadow you so I can see what it's about? He said, absolutely. I came the very next day. And here I am 4 or 5 years later.
Wow, it's amazing. You hear these stories of people out here trying to do this, and it just seems that fate just brought you guys together in such an amazing show. Now, I noticed that, and I must admit I'm a fan of the show.
Okay, thank you.
I noticed that you have a strong presence and you represent the female point of view on a lot of these things, and especially now with the female voice being so strong in society. Do you feel you have a responsibility to step up and represent the ladies and the other side of this?
I mean, not necessarily a responsibility. I am being true to who I am. So what I speak my truth, and I speak what I feel is fair. You know, I try to be open and see everything from both sides of the coin. I don't want to be stuck in one element and not be, you know, able to understand different perspectives. So I try to see everything very broadly and not just stay confined.
Now, one of the questions that I, as a listener, has always wanted to know.
Okay.
So, do you guys have like a pre-meeting on the topics? Or
Never.
Does Mr. Jones keep them hot, secret, and you're out there with the rest of us?
I'm out here with the rest of y'all. Most of the time, I have no idea what the topic is going to be.
Because your perspective is always fresh and to the point, and you think through it with the rest of us. So we're
But
sitting
see-
back like, wow.
But see, when you're speaking from your heart and you're living in your truth, it's going to be, you know,
Organic.
it is organic. It's just true. It's just who I am. And the same answer I'll give you on the air is the same answer I'm going to give you off the air.
And it's good right now in our society where the truth, there seems to be a moving target. I think that is what's shining through. A lot of this is that the answers are honest and people are truthful.
Somebody told me at one point in time when I first started doing it that, I think they mentioned it to you, that I'm relatable. And that made a difference for me. You know, that's good to know that somebody can relate to what I'm saying. You know, because again, as a woman, I want to be treated fairly. I want to be, you know, loved. I want to be respected. I want all those things. And I'm going to tell you, the next person, and the next person, you know, what I feel is the best way to be and receive those things.
Excellent. Now, I'm not aware if you know this, and you may know this. I was in the car listening, and you know, you're running through old school, and I'm going through singing the songs. And I look over at my 18-year-old and my 15-year-old, and they're singing along. And I stopped and was like, "What do you know about this?" And she goes, "Dad, all we listen to is 90s music. All we listen to is late 80s music."
Interesting.
And it's like they know this. So in you being old school, did you realize that you were current and you were the music for the millennial generation?
Yeah, because my daughter's 10 years old. She sings New Edition songs, not, you know, sing a verse and then, no, she sings the actual songs. She's, one of her favorite songs is Candy Rain by Soul For Real. She loves that song. I just think that the music that we came up with, a lot of the children and, you know, can relate to it. It's not saying that we never had bad offensive music. We did, but a lot of the music that we did listen to was feel-good music. And a lot of times, even the kids, they want to feel good. They don't want to feel like they're on the verge of listening to something that's going to make them want to kill themselves. And it's a lot of artists out here now that are good, because I don't want them to say, oh, well, they're hating our music. No, we're not hating your music. It's a lot of talented artists out there, you know. But this is why a lot of the kids now can really enjoy our music, because they see the quality of it.
And not only that, they also realize that a lot of the beats that their music is laid upon came from our era.
Yep.
And so some of them want to go back and do the research and understand where that song originated from and who was the original, you know, producer of that song, and so on and so forth.
Now, another thing which is fascinating as I've done my research preparing for this interview, you guys are almost an enigma because you bring us out the best of old school. We can enjoy the music and we can sing along and we can laugh and we can talk and we can discuss, which is all the old school attributes that we're used to having. This takes us back to the skating rink with the DJ calling out the people on the floor and the club and this kind of vibe. But then you have your apps and you're on my phone and you're digital and you're so up on the technology going forward that you seem to have positioned yourself in such a perfect place that you can capture the terrestrial and the regular radio that I can flip my knob on and listen to you as I drive down the road. But I can also, if I'm losing that signal, flip on my app, plug it into my aux cord or sync, and I can move forward. Did you know this going in to position yourself? You know, can you kind of explain to us your vision of your understanding of this? Because it sounds like you know where this is ultimately going to go.
Well, I'm gonna let you answer most of that, but we have to be innovative in order to stay relevant, because everything today is moving towards digital and smartphones and, you know, internet based and so on and so forth. So if you're not keeping up with the times, thus being innovative, you're going to fall by the wayside. Now, for him, he was ahead of his time because he was into the digital stream before anybody could even think about digital stream and didn't even think it was going to go anywhere. So I'll let you, you know, take that part. I'm sorry.
That's cool. You answered it. Nah, the digital side was always, I was always inquisitive about that. Starting from Blog Talk Radio. I saw something that probably other people saw, but they really didn't put their finger on it like I put my finger on it. I'm always the type of person, I like to look at stuff and see if I can tear it apart. But I also like to see where it can go. So it started from Blog Talk. From Blog Talk, it went to Fishbowl. I kind of saw what Fishbowl was doing. Certain things I did like, certain things I didn't like. So I said I wanted to change the direction. Our station is pretty much, it's a digital and terrestrial station, but it was digital in the beginning with a terrestrial feel. You know, a lot of stations don't have a program listing. A lot of stations don't follow FCC rules. It's the internet. I'll be able to say what the hell I want to say. We always ran the station that everybody would enjoy and listen to. So I already knew years ago, oh, digital is going to be the new wave. Televisions, you got smart TVs now. You have smartphones, computers. A lot of people spend the majority of their time on their phone, their laptop, their tablet, their computer. So why not target that audience? That's a widespread audience. That's worldwide. That's going to give you what you want.
Hence the name, worldwide.
Worldwide. So then, you know, we went backwards. We got the antenna last. We was digital for a good, 5 years. Mm-hmm. Then we went and got the antenna, but we still favor the digital side because that's what birthed the station. Like, people are in their cars, but how long are they in their cars? Mm-hmm. Now ask a person, how long you got your phone? Right. Ask a person, how long you on your computer?
Yep.
How long you on your tablet? I bet you it outweighs how long you in the car.
True.
So we've often had where technology shifts and people thought that it was going to kill off the previous technology, that the tablet was going to kill off the newspaper and that TV was going to kill off radio. From a historical perspective, radio was all entertainment. You got everything from the radio. Even it was so serious that with War of the Worlds, people thought we were being invaded by aliens and reacted because a radio program was so believable. But radio has seemed to be resilient no matter what the other technology that comes along and no matter what the latest fad. Do you believe that radio is one of those things that will be here with us forever?
Oh, if you go and do your research, you look over overseas. I think in Europe, I think they stopped terrestrial radio and everything's digital. Canada, digital. I'm not saying that radio is going to evaporate and disappear, but I'm positively sure the digital structure of radio will hold more presence than an antenna.
Let me restructure my question. Because like a lot of us, we are ran towards services like your streaming services, like your Pandoras, where you can pick your music. But what you start to learn over time is that you get the patterns, and it gets boring, and you miss what you guys bring the personalities to keep that day lively, to entertain, to keep you up to date in this kind of thing. So, do you feel that the radio personality, that we will always have someone in the chair to keep that interaction alive, or that we will move to a purely digital environment where it's just programmed and pushed to?
No, I think the personality plays an important part. Me and I have this discussion all the time. I feel like radio has moved away from the people. A lot of the listeners, with some hosts, they can't identify with them because there's no interaction between the host and the listeners. So as long as you have hosts that are willing to interact with their listeners, willing to interact with people in general, be there for them in their time of needs, not financially, but I'm just saying, just on a personal level, if they have a death in the family, or if they have a birthday, as long as you're able to let them know, I care about you and I'm with you, then a host will never disappear. But if you have hosts that are like, I ain't got time to talk to these people, I'm just gonna do my show and that's it, then you can replace it with a robot.
True. I mean, at that point, when you're showing that you have no interest in your listeners, why does your listeners want to have interest in you?
And you can be replaced.
I remember after 9/11, and I remember the important role that radio played, where the host opened up the lines to let people call in and share their loss and share their pain. And at a certain point, I think it was radio that started to play the uplift music and say, okay, now it's time for us to pick up. Now it's time for us to move on. That was very important. Thank you so much for sharing. Let me just shift gears briefly. One of the things that I like about the E. Jones Show are the interviews. And one of the things I found from your interviews is that you take a lot of time. You ask real questions, detailed questions, and you give the artist the ability to talk. The first time, and I mean some of your interviews with one of my favorites, Stephanie Mills, the idea that someone of that caliber would spend this much time, or your Roxanne Shante interviews, where people really had a chance to sit back, and I noticed a few of them had to stop and think about their answers, and they really took the time, they sat through breaks, and it seemed to enjoy this. And I see no one else really dedicating this amount of time to the interview. So my first question is, what's different about your style that convinces them to open up and be willing to share this much? And also, what made you choose the format to want to have these extended conversations with these notables?
Well, first and foremost, they're asked the same question over and over on all the stations they probably do interviews with. So why ask something that somebody already knows? Why make an interview repetitive? Where you're going to ask her, with this, and we already know that. We already know that. So our approach now is we want them to be comfortable. We want them to feel like they're sitting on the couch, we're in their living room, and we just having a great conversation that can shift from A, B, C, and D. But the whole thing of having an extended conversation is making sure that they're safe. We're not trying to expose them.
No. And we want them to feel comfortable.
We want to be comfortable. We ain't trying to talk about the dirt and the gossip. We want the listeners to get an up close picture of who they really are.
Yep.
They bleed like us, they get sick like us, and they die like us.
Absolutely.
But, you know, instead of talking about just music, let's talk about what they do behind the scenes. Do you know how to cook? What do you do outside of performing? What is your way of winding down? What is some of your stress relievers? These are questions that they're not being asked when they go on other people's shows. Everybody will talk about, oh, are you still married to Bobby Brown? Are you still, like, we know this already. We read about it. Let's talk about stuff that nobody knows about. So, with that being said, you know, we get them comfortable. They want to talk. And we want them to tell their story, not his story, not my story. We want them to tell their story.
So with your interaction and your ability to reach out to our notables and in some cases our idols and people we grew up who are part of our lives. Their songs got us through. We did our dirt with their songs. We got away with it with their songs. These are the soundtracks to our lives. Are you a fan? Is there someone that you want to meet or somebody you would love to interview?
I love to interview a childhood friend of mine. I had to pull my hat over my eyes. We said dirt. Thought, you know, the wind was blowing. My fault. I do have a childhood friend that I do want to interview, Mr. James Todd Smith. I went to school with him. Those who don't know, that's the LL, the icon, the GOAT. I went to school with him 6th, 7th grade. Love to chop it up with him because he's seen hip hop.
He's seen it all.
Oh, he's seen it all, and he survived.
And still surviving.
And he's still surviving. I would say LL. I would say Mo D. From a singer side, she already know the answer. Female singer side, you can answer that question.
Mary J. Blige.
Love to talk to Mary. That's my girl. Loved her from day one. Something about her, I identified with Mary. The glasses over the, you know, her whole persona, but when she sung and performed, she brought it. So I would love to interview Mary, LL, Mo D, Star Aspect, Holly Berry. I think that's Holly Berry, homegirl from How to Get Away with Murder.
Oh my God.
I forgot. Viola.
Is it Viola? No. Is that the other one?
No, that's not Viola.
Okay.
Love to interview Viola. I definitely enjoyed interviewing Holly Robinson Peete. She was phenomenal. Her whole attitude, everything was just so positive. It was easy to talk with her, and we had a great interview. And Shantae was great. We learned a lot about Shantae, and it wasn't assuming. Shantae really put everything on the table of why she moved the way she moved and everything else. So that's it.
So my last question, or as I wind this down, you're like me, so we don't see ourselves getting to a point of I'm older now, I'm winding this thing down. We're always looking towards the future. We're always that kid. So let me ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Where do you want this to go? When you step back one day and say, okay, I'm where I want to be, or this was fun. When you look at the E. Jones Show and all of this technology and all the capabilities and all the connections that you have, where would you like to see this?
That we changed the radio game. You know, I want people to say that we brought radio back to the people, that we listen, we play joints, we're not relegated on somebody's playlist. We're not playing the same dirty songs over and over and over. There's a lot of hidden gems in the albums. So, go ahead.
I was saying, most importantly, our children could pick up the torch and run with it.
So this is legacy.
For them.
Legacy,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You know, we want them to be able to say, you know what, I don't have to go work for
Anyone.
Mr. Tom or Mr.
Yep.
Bobby. I can come work for myself because my parents left us something for us to pick up and take the torch and keep it moving and keep the legacy alive. But
You know, I want to just share this quickly. It's funny that you said that, like you're saying, don't need to go work for anybody else. And I was sharing with him one day, my father has a trucking business, and he has no boys. And I'm, you know, one of those frilly girls. You know, I like to be dressed. I don't want to wear Timbs and have a hat on. I don't want all that. And so I said, I just feel bad that he has no one to take over his business all the years that he has put into it. What do we do? And he said to me, like, are you kidding me? He said, you run the business. You learn it, you run it, and you hire somebody to drive the trucks. I said, you got a point. I said, I'm definitely going to bring that up to my father. Then he spoke, you know, we got 2 show hosts here that also drive trucks for a living. So, I mean, so it makes sense, you know, it would be beautiful to be able to carry that legacy on for him too.
But I definitely want to add something in. Super shout out to Diamond.
Amazing.
She came aboard and she enhanced the vision. She didn't try to change the vision. She enhanced the vision. Mentorship. Told us that we had a great product and are we sure we want to take it to the next level. And she helped us with taking it to the next level. Shout out to Cody, who's not here. The baby Cody, came aboard, and he came from an old school background with his family legacy, Peter Guns, Corey Guns. So, you know, he already had a knowledge of what we was doing. And of course, Mills comes from the Pete Rock, CL Smooth Camp, Heavy D. So it just, like I said, it just was natural. When you're doing a show with people that understand what we're playing, it becomes easy. It's
They have
not
the same goal.
that has the same goals. I don't have to beat her in the head and say
Good.
she's not trying to be almost her age, but running around the clubs with short shorts on and her booty cheeks hanging out. She embraces her age.
Gotta be classy and not trashy.
I embrace who I am because I love the music. I love hip hop. I love R&B. I love good music, period. I think that what's taken away from music now is like when we came up with the R&B situation, you know, it made you want to do some things for a little bit of change. But I'm just saying. But it made you, let's take it a little bit back. It made you want to take that special female to the Chinese restaurant and take her to the movies. You know, it made you want to have that Calvin cooler with her, or whatever the case may be. That music motivated you to be, when you heard R&B,
You smooth.
you had to be smooth. You can't be rugged and the Isley Brothers is talking about Between the Sheets. But then when you heard LL Cool J, I Need a Beat, when you hear Sucker MCs from Run DMC, you know, you like, yo, this is gonna go somewhere. When you hear Ultramagnetic MCs, you like, wow. When you hear Red Alert, Chuck Chill Out, Marley Marl, The Awesome 2, you're hearing all this and you saying to yourself, yo, I gotta be a part of this. You know, it just changed your whole mind frame. So we just want to continue to keep this legacy alive. Bottom line is this: rock and roll got a Hall of Fame, country got a Hall of Fame. You know, hip hop was supposed to be something that was supposed to come in and leave. Hip hop is still here.
around.
Like Elvis, everybody's making sure they preserve his legacy. Everybody's preserving rock and roll. We're gonna preserve hip hop and R&B.
There you go.
That's it.